guys, Sally here. Welcome back to Gipsyrosepaperie. So today I wanted to do not really a tutorial. I think I'm going to call it more of a craft with me on how to make this Scrappy junk journal. So I made this a few years ago. I know I have a video with a flip through. I'll try to link that down below if you wanted to see the inside. But basically my goal with this little journal was to kind of get rid of some of the scraps that I had lying around. I feel like scraps is like the laundry or the dishes of junk journals. They just pile up, and no matter how much you try to like keep it at a manageable level, it just sort of multiplies on its own. So it's just a way to manage your scraps, really. I don't think we'll ever be able to get rid of all our scraps. I don't think that's possible. I apologize for any background noise. They are cutting the grass across the street from me. But I thought for a beginner, it would probably be a lot easier to see something being put together from start to finish. I want to keep this at one video. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I don't know if that will be possible, because even with a little journal like this, there's a time investment. That's my disclaimer for the video or series. I don't know yet. As you can see here, the cover is just plain cardstock. I tried to use scraps, but I didn't have a scrap large enough, so I made a B6 size for this one, mostly because most of my leather covers that I use, like my traveler's notebooks, are B6. It's like my go-to size. And so I made it a B6, and also because a lot of the scraps that I have aren't full size, obviously, because they're scraps. So I wanted to be able to incorporate as many scraps in here without it looking too sort of off balance, like just a full size journal filled with different, you know, tiny little pieces of paper. It would just look weird. As you can see here, I kept it pretty simple. I used papers that I already had, stuff that I had a lot of, like doilies and bags. My embellishments in here were really also simple, mostly collaging with other pieces of scrap paper, like the smaller scrap papers, sewing, some punches. Punches add a lot to your journals. I would say that they are bulky in size, but if you want to invest in like some really solid patterns, like the doily pattern is really good. It does add a lot to your journals. And so again, just scrap paper, doilies I have a lot of, bags I have a lot of. And then for tags, I have a lot of chipboard. So when I make my hardcovers, I make the book board from scratch from like these chipboard that's on the back of notebooks. And you know, the offcuts, I really don't have a use for them. They're not really large enough or wide enough to make anything else with. I decided to just turn them into tags and just stamp on them, and they look great. So don't underestimate stamps. Stamps would be the other thing that I would say really add to your journals for like decoration and embellishment. So here I just had a piece of book page, and I used a stamp and blue ink, and it really just changes the look of it. And I made a little tuck spot. So I won't go through this whole thing again. So for those of you that are keeping a mental note, you're gonna need scrap paper. If you have punches, you don't need very many, 1 or 2 will do. Stamping, I would say stick to stamps that you like, or stamps that kind of you can use over and over and you're kind of not gonna get tired of the pattern, kind of like script stamps or stuff like that. Lastly, I personally like to use different colored stamping just to add a different spin on the stamps. You can use the one stamp and just use different inks to ink them, and they'll give you a different effect and a different feel. So those are my main suggestions for supplies. Obviously, you're going to need bookbinding supplies. You're going to need, you know, thread or cord, whatever you use, and what you need to make the holes and all that. And again, I'll go through that whole process with you. This will be a start to finish. And I think I'm gonna stop talking now because I'm just babbling at this point. And we'll get to the papers next. So for papers, I managed to get my life together and organize my scraps into color. Before, it was just a big old pile of paper without rhyme or reason in a box, but this kind of helps my eye coordinate better. So I've pulled out colors that I'm kind of feeling right now. So purples and blues, there's a whole packet of neutrals in here. I pulled out different types of paper, so I have some tissue. I've got some music paper, and I have some coffee dyed cardstock that I had in there. And then other colors or patterns. I have florals, I have pinks, I have some greens, and then I have some of my embossed papers that I made. And I had these extra word stickers. I'm just gonna hold on to them. Maybe I'll feel like using them later. And we can kind of start, or you can kind of start sorting through your papers and just picking out what you like, what draws your eye, what you feel matches. They don't have to be the same size, they don't have to be the same thickness, they don't even have to seem like they will fit. You just have to pull papers that you like how they look together. So that's what we're gonna do. And here I have some coffee paper, so I'm just gonna pull it out. And I won't walk you through every little piece of paper that I choose to, you know, put in the journal, because I really want you to own that process and choose the papers that draw your eye and that you feel work for what you want to do. And again, I'm just gonna go through here and pull papers that kind of draw my eye. So that one, and I'm gonna go ahead and just keep doing that, and then I will meet you back here. So here I just picked a bunch of papers, no rhyme or reason. You can kind of start sorting them in like sizes. So these bigger ones I could pull to the side. So these are all the papers that I chose. So about 4 different kinds of sizes, and it's weird because you're not really looking at sizes, you're looking more at color, but somehow it just kind of works out. So the next thing I want to look at is there a paper in here that I could use for my cover? I'm going to stick to a B6 size. So these would probably be able to be cut down to a B6. So I'm going to see if I have any cardstock in here. And I do. I have this one here. And we can use this for our cover. And then we can kind of start organizing the signature. It's only going to be one, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these bigger pages. So one of these is going to be one that I'm going to see right when I open up this journal. So I'd have to make a decision about which one is the one that I want to see when I first open up. And I'm really kind of leaning towards this blue. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put the next page in. I'm going to do this one next and this one. And there's no rhyme or reason to that. That's just how my eye coordinated it. The next thing we are going to do is sort of start adding these. I have some of the embossed papers here, and start adding these next. And so let's see, I really like this against here, so maybe we'll add that there. And maybe this one here. And we have more, but we're not going to worry about those right now because we have enough of these smaller pages. Okay. And then we're going to kind of look at these coffee papers. And remember, we're going to cut these down because they're not B6 size yet. I'm just organizing papers for now. So maybe this can go in here. Like that. I forgot how hard these reinforcements are. They are very sturdy. No, I don't know. This I might want to put on the cover. And this one I folded over this way, but I'm gonna go ahead and fold there. And maybe you can spice this one up because it's a little bland. So there really isn't a science to organizing. I have a very sort of patterned way of doing it in another video, but right now, because we're just having fun, I'm not going to get all hot and bothered over exactly how these signatures need to be put together, you know. I'm just having fun with the process, and that's all I can suggest for you, is to have fun with it and not to get too sort of worked up over the logistics of it. And we'll organize them a little bit more once we cut these down. So let's stop there. We've got a good amount of paper in here, and let's start cutting these down to size. So a B6 size is a 5x7, so 7 height and not 5, but obviously 10 across, because you know the whole width of the cover. But I would cut it just a little bit short of that. So instead of 7, 6 3/4 height, and instead of 10, you could do 9 3/4 if you were using this inside of like a leather cover, so it won't be right flush with the leather cover. It'll have a little bit of space to kind of protect the outside. But if you weren't doing that, then you can just do, you know, 7 by 10 and you'd be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that, but it'll be off screen because my paper cutter's too big. And so your cover will look like this. Now, I happen to like that it says October on this side, so I'm gonna do it backwards. You don't have to do that. That's just my weird sort of preference. And then I'm going to hold this inside of here and see which papers don't quite fit, right? So it's quite a few papers that don't fit in here. So we're gonna cut these down. This blue one though, I really don't want it to be cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold about there. And then fold again. About there. So these are fine, but this one has to be cut. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to reorganize my papers so that they aren't too bulky like in the middle. I want them kind of evenly spread out. Okay, so kind of like that. And you could cut it more if you didn't want it to be flush against your cover. but I think this is a good place. I'm going to go ahead and leave them like this. And the one thing I do want to add here, which is not a scrap, is maybe some coffee dyed paper and some music paper and some alternative papers. So I have my music paper here. I'm probably going to add 2 sheets of this. And we're going to grab some tissue paper. I really like this brown because it's a bit sturdier. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down. And these will be filler in between the pages that maybe have a little bit too many scrappy scraps peeking through and not enough full-size pages. So like here, and it's peeking out a little bit, but it doesn't bother me. You can cut it down more if it bothers you, but now I have the feeling of like, you know, there is some full-size pages in there to kind of separate. Here I'm missing one of these guys. I'm gonna go ahead and place that there. Right there. And I think we are good here. We could probably start embellishing the cover. So let's see. So then here, this is where we would go ahead and get your stamps, your different colored inks if you have it, your punches if you have it, or if you wanted to die cut some pieces as accents, you could do that. So this is where we're going to get to sort of the embellishing part. Just use what you have. I can't sort of stress that enough. Don't get overwhelmed with embellishing or not having certain things. The art is in creating with what you have, and just let it flow. That's my best advice. So here I already know that I kind of really like this moon pattern, so I might actually just stick that on there. And the best way to go about this is to really just jump right in and commit. Don't overthink stuff, just, you know, jump right in. That is my best advice. So I'm going to grab my glue. I have this little punch here. I'm going to go ahead and just punch the corners. Okay, so we have our first step in embellishing. Or maybe we can just put a pocket back here. Kind of like that. And here we can start doing some more embellishment. So I really like the look of this. I'm going to go ahead and tear a little piece and just add that there. And now that I did that there, I really would like some tissue underneath here. And since we kind of got a marine-ish vibe in here due to the paper that I use with the octopus on it, I'm going to go ahead and I need some blue. Maybe the screen here. I'm going to go ahead and use the screen. And we're going to punch some seashells. And then either we can put it on there like that, or maybe sideways. I think I like it this way. And I feel like it still needs like a focal image. So I'm going to go and look at my stamps and just pick one out. And some of this paper has holographic effects on it. So on those, you'll have to let this dry for a good while so that it doesn't rub off. So I'm just gonna put the little bird here. And then just for good measure, I'm gonna add another little bird right there. So that is our cover. So now for our insides, I may have to cut the video off here because that took a long time. So we're gonna stop it here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much, and I will see you on the next part 2, craft with me, on how to make a little scrappy journal. Bye.